Welcome to the It's Been Said podcast. I'm your host, Executive Director Lisa Ramey. Today's episode is a special edition of the It's Been Said podcast. Dr. Dana Schon, Associate Executive Director of Professional Learning, will discuss her perspective on leadership life fit. She'll offer her insights on this topic periodically over the coming months. Let's hear from Dana.
Greetings from the School Administrators of Iowa headquarters in Clive, Iowa. This is Dana Schon, Associate Executive Director of Professional Learning with SAI. In this episode of the Leadership Life Fit podcast, we're talking about gratitude. I know you might be thinking, that's old news. I already practice gratitude, or at least I used to. I'm aware of the benefits. I send the occasional text of appreciation. Come on, Dana, give me something new. Well, as much as I would love to provide the magic elixir for a quality leadership life fit, we are each on our own journey. That's the whole nature of fit and why fit is preferred over that whole outdated, antiquated notion of work-life balance. But if I were to create such an elixir, gratitude would be my key ingredient. I want to talk first about the general practice of gratitude, the approach I would imagine many of us have when it comes to gratitude. And then I want to delve into this kind of soul-inhabiting gratitude that brings about improved well-being, that full and happy heart. And this is the space where I don't know that we have as much familiarity and where I think we stand to get the greatest gains in our overall well-being. But let's start with that general practice of gratitude. Like you, I've read many an article listing ways in which we can express or practice gratitude, and these activities do serve to fuel our energy and contribute to a quality leadership life fit. In fact, the positive impact of many of these practices is well supported by the research. So let's talk about a few of the most common practices. I'll just give you my top 5 that I think are easy to use and require minimal energy and effort on your part. So these are my top 5. The first one is a color of the day strategy. In this one, you simply pick a color each day, and every time you see that color, you press pause and give gratitude for something. So my color today is blue. I just looked over and I noticed my blue water bottle. This is a trigger for me to think about something I'm grateful for. So for me in this moment, it's my standing desk. I'd been sitting for a bit this morning and I was ready to stand and stretch, and I'm really grateful that I have this desk that I can adjust. And so this blue water bottle triggered me to say, okay, stop in the moment and give gratitude. Notice something for which you can be grateful. This can be done no matter where you are. You don't need tools, you don't need resources. It's low investment. So whether you are headed to work in the morning and your color also happens to be blue and you notice the intensity of the blue sky, you'll think about, okay, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful that I have a working vehicle that gets me where I need to go. Or maybe you get to the office and you notice someone's wearing a blue top. And so you think to yourself, what can I be grateful for in this moment? Gosh, I'm really grateful I have this job. I have this opportunity to serve. So again, a very simple approach and not requiring a lot of energy on your part. All right, my second strategy or practice is my green light strategy. I don't know about you, but more often than not, I tend to be frustrated because I feel like I'm hitting every possible red light whenever I'm traveling in an area that has a lot of stoplights. And this is an opportunity to shift that perspective so that each time I hit a green light, I give thanks and appreciation. Wow, that was so awesome. Yes, I'm so grateful I hit a green light. It'll be interesting because I think what I have noticed is I actually hit a lot more green lights than I realized. When I was focusing on red lights and the frustration I feel when I'm in a hurry and I want to just get there, that I was overly fixated on a red light. Whereas when I started noticing the green lights and giving gratitude, the red lights seemed to fade a little bit more into the background. So again, very simple approach, the green light approach. Number 2. Number 3, and you'll notice these are in order of energy required. So with each successive numbered strategy, you'll notice they might require just a smidge more of your energy. So number 3 is the first person you see strategy. Find something to appreciate about the first person you see each day. It might be a spouse or a partner. It might be that you don't see anybody till you get to work. It's an employee, it's a colleague. Maybe it's somebody at Casey's if you stop for a coffee or a donut. Whatever the case may be, find something to appreciate about that person. And it might be that you notice an item of clothing that you admire, or maybe they have a really happy smile, or maybe they said something kind to you and you really appreciate that. This one requires a bit more cognitive energy, because you have to be present to your life to notice and observe in order to identify something that you appreciate about that first person you see. Number 4, leaving notes of appreciation. So this can be a weekly or a daily practice of being intentional about noticing the behavior and work of others so that you can offer your gratitude. Keep it authentic. So again, it might be an email. This was my experience with you this week, and I just really appreciate your tenacity, or I really appreciate your commitment, or I really appreciate your positive attitude in the face of this challenge or adversity, or I value the way that you interacted with those parents. Whatever that might look like, the key is to be specific and to be intentional about noticing so you can be specific. Number 5, rounding out my top 5, and I would say probably requiring the most time, energy, effort, and resource, is that gratitude journal. So find your favorite notepad, get on Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble, go to your favorite local bookstore, grab a journal that speaks to you, and start every morning listing what you're grateful for in that moment. I'd suggest 3 items. So find 3 things that you can be grateful for. Start simple, and then you can always grow from there. It might be that you're grateful simply for that hot cup of coffee and its aroma. Or maybe you start your day with a soda, and so you're grateful for that carbonation, and you notice the feel of that in your mouth and on your tongue, and you're grateful for that. Maybe it's that you reach over on your nightstand and you're still in bed and you're grateful for a good night's sleep, or the way that your bed supports you. It might be that you're grateful for the quiet before everyone else is up in your house. Whatever that might be, 3 things every day for which you're grateful, write them down. As I noted, the last couple require a bit more energy and a bit more of a time commitment than the first few. Regardless, they all have impact. Some of them are internal, they impact us. They fill us with happiness, with joy, that sense of well-being, because they are only involving our own appreciation for what's around us. And some of those are an opportunity for us to fill other people's buckets. And in that case, we also feel fulfilled in that moment. So there's a both and, right? Some of these practices impact just our own mindset and well-being, and others go on to have impact on the people that we encounter in our lives. So again, I really like the practice of gratitude, and I think, as we've noted, there is value in that. But I would also say it seems to me to fall a little bit short of just this deeper understanding of how gratitude is lived and experience. For example, the word practice makes me think about preparation. I think about the many high school basketball practices in which I participated, as well as the college basketball practices, and then practices that I facilitated when I began teaching and coaching. Those practices were intended to get us ready for some sort of a game or a performance. But then what? I think the practice was the means to an end, and I don't think the practice of gratitude is specifically the means to an end. Again, of course, it's helping us with our mindset and well-being, but I feel like it's much more than that, much deeper than that. I also think about practice in terms of learning. Maybe it's vocabulary words or writing, or in some way becoming proficient. But again, I don't know that we are striving to become proficient in gratitude. I don't even know what that would look like. Because when it comes to gratitude, there's no game, there's no test, there's no final performance. And I also get it. The word practice can mean the habitual way of doing something, like the practice of medicine, or the practice of teaching, or the practice of leadership, which again, I think comes a bit closer to how I think we might best conceive of gratitude, but not quite, because I think gratitude should be experienced. It should be integrated into who we are, rather than this external thing, these behaviors or way of doing. I really think it's our way of being. It's our identity. It's who we are. And granted, it does take practice to get us to this place where gratitude is a part of our identity, where it truly inhabits our soul such that we naturally find something to appreciate in even the most difficult of circumstances. I think this is really important. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about overlooking the challenges in our lives. It is about stepping into these, recognizing even in the most difficult spaces, there are things that we can be grateful for. Two things can be true at once. I can be grateful for something that a specific challenge presents to me, and I can also be sad and disappointed and frustrated. It's not an either or proposition. And I'll tell you, I have a long way to go and grow in achieving this sort of experience, lived gratitude. There are many a times when I am frustrated at a red light, or I do lose patience and I'm not seeing what there is in a specific moment that I can appreciate. And each opportunity that I have to remind myself that there is something here for me to appreciate, each shift in that perspective moves me closer to that soul infused lived gratitude. And the implication of that is reduced stress and lots more joy. I subscribe to a newly launched blog by the New York Times. It's called The Good List. And the author's in pursuit of things that make life just a little bit better. Well, in the most recent installment, the author, who's frustrated with the tedious of small talk, just fed up with just why do we waste our time in this small talk, shares some insight that she gains after having read Roger Rosenblatt, who happens to be an author of several books on aging. Rosenblatt says the initiation of small talk, the how you're doing, means that someone has chosen to break through the carapace of normal self interest and is thinking of you, if only briefly. And you, if only briefly, are pleased enough to return the same question. I love this. I think that this gets at what I'm talking about when I am talking about this lived experience, soul infused, soul integrated gratitude. Because in this example, it's a reframe of small talk as evidence that someone cares enough to connect with me. And while I'm not labeling that specifically as gratitude, it is an example of lived gratitude because ultimately I am grateful that someone cares enough to say, hey, I've been thinking about you. You're on my mind today. It translates as I'm grateful someone cares about me and is willing to take that time to connect with me. It's not about the message, the content of that message specifically saying, hey, Dana, sure grateful that you're my friend. It's about how I experience that message because gratitude inhabits my soul. I experience the appreciation for that message. And so by sending a quick text to share a memory with someone or simply say they've been on your mind today, that is living your gratitude. You have friends, people, family who are glad to hear from you, just like you're glad to hear from them. So, one of my challenges to you in this moment is open your contacts on your phone. I know as leaders, you have a contact list that is jam-packed. There's tons of options there for you. Pick just one person to let them know they're on your mind today. One person. And if you feel the spirit move you, pick four more. Send a handful of texts today, just, hey, you're on my mind. Or, oh my gosh, do you remember when? So it might be a childhood friend, a high school friend, it might be a college roommate or college friend, a former teacher, or someone in your current friend group that you just haven't connected with for a really long time, but they've been on your mind. Act on that thought. Act on that thought. Send that text. All right, as we keep thinking through how do we get to this space of inhabited gratitude, one of the things we might do is take a look at what inhibits our ability to be grateful. And Christy Nelson, author of Wake Up Grateful, The Transformative Practice of Taking Nothing for Granted, I think has some really powerful and common sense insight. What inhibits our gratitude? Fear and this scarcity mentality. What if there's not enough? And so instead of stepping into a space with a grateful heart, I step in with worry and fear and this scarcity mentality that there isn't enough. And it stops me from appreciating what there is. Sometimes we get into this space, well, more is better, and I better get mine. And again, I think that can best be described from that scarcity perspective. Whereas, you know what? This is enough. In this moment, it's enough, and I'm grateful. You've probably heard the adage, comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely. And comparison can stop us from being grateful. I wish I had that, or I want that, or if only I could, that sort of thinking stops us from being able to be grateful for what we do have in this moment. or thinking that I deserve this and more. That entitlement perspective. I deserve more, I want more. That can stop us from being grateful for where we are in this moment. Denial, I wish none of this was true. I wish this hadn't happened. Again, stops us from being able to shift in that moment and find something to be grateful, whether it's the lesson learned or the people that were going through the challenge with me or the trauma, whatever it might have been. And then expectations. Well, it should have been different than this. Well, it wasn't. And so looking at the here and now, what can I be grateful for? So the ability to reframe these inhibitors can help us to shift to that soul inhabiting gratitude. Live as if nothing is promised to you. Be grateful that you get to wake up and serve and lead and be part of your family and friend groups for another day. Look around you. You know, the color of the day is a trigger and a way of looking around you and seeing what you notice that you can be grateful for. And look inside yourself. You have so many gifts and strengths that you share every day, and be grateful for the talents with which you've been blessed. This next one, appreciate the ordinary as extraordinary. Oh my gosh, I think of this as looking at things through the eyes of children. It's always amazing to me how young kids are in awe and can see the wonder in what we come to experience as the mundane. So how do we shift and appreciate the ordinary? I recently read a meditative approach that involves finding something to fixate on. Let's say it's a glass of water in front of you, and sitting with that glass of water until you notice something extraordinary about it. And it might be the movement of the water, it might be the reflection of the light on the water and how it shifts and shapes the things that you're seeing through that glass. I don't know what that might look like, and maybe you think this is all a little bit cheesy, and it might be. But my point is, learn to appreciate or find something extraordinary in the ordinary. Notice beauty, nourish love, nourish those relationships. Be surprised, be in awe, be in wonder. Open your heart and share your blessings. All from Christy Nelson, Waking Up Grateful, the transformative practice of taking nothing for granted. Growing gratitude as a part of who we are has far-reaching effects. It not only improves our own mental health and well-being and obviously our leadership life fit, but it also helps foster our relationships with others. Living your life with gratitude helps you notice the little wins, like hitting that green light, or a stranger holding the door open for you, or the sun shining through your window when you wake up in the morning, or that beautiful sunset in the evening. Each of these small moments add up to big impact on your well-being. It's that amalgamation of 1%, right? The little things that over time have such significant impact and strengthen our ability to see the good in even the most challenging situations. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Leadership Life Fit podcast. I invite you to consider how gratitude can live within you, how it can inhabit your soul. I'm so grateful for your leadership and the opportunity to serve you. Thank you.